So this episode will be a little different than the previous ones. There won't be any technical advice or on-track action, but I'm going to go through and answer a lot of questions. And one that I get the most, and literally every single day someone asks, is, am I going to be at the Isle of Man TT this year? And the answer is most certainly yes. Back in November, we announced that I was joining Dow Racing Honda to compete in this year's British Superbike Championship. And they have a great success and history of racing in the Isle of Man. But as recent as of last year, they've stepped away from road racing altogether. And that's to purely focus on the British Superbike Championship. So I won't be competing at the Isle of Man TT with Dow this year. Even though I won't be racing for Dow at the Isle of Man TT, I have their full support to go and join with any brand or team that are competing to get the best result possible. And I'll hopefully even have some of my Dow Racing crew come over and join us at the event to bring their expertise. So even though I had the flexibility to join with any brand, I did choose to stay with Honda. So I'll be racing in Superbike, Superstock and Supersport on Hondas, just to keep the continuity between what I'm doing with British Superbikes and the Isle of Man TT together. I'll jump into a few questions from the public now, and the first is, I'm already successful at the circuits, so why do I risk the Isle of Man TT? The answer to that isn't very simple, but I just like it. I don't have to do it. It's not compulsory or forced on by any sponsors or teams or anything like that. It's just a choice that I made many years ago after visiting, and I've always been drawn to it. I've had a road license before for a motorcycle before I even had a car license. So I'm very comfortable riding on the roads, and I think that, you know, just riding in the general road conditions with the other traffic is probably more dangerous than a racing lap around the Isle of Man. So although it seems very dangerous what we're doing, I've balanced out the risk in my own way of measuring, and I feel comfortable to do it. Last year was my best results, and this year will be the first time I've ridden 3 years in succession. So the question is, how do I feel that that's going to help my progress? I think it's going to make a big difference. I think the big thing is having time away. So I rode 13 and 14 and then had 2 years off, and it was really difficult coming back after 2 years away. It actually surprised me. I felt like I was learning the track again, like it's my first time. And then I'd rode 17 and 18, and then I had 5 years away. Coming back again in 2023 was a really big process, learning all the track again. I knew obviously the way around the track, but riding it at speed again was quite difficult and took a lot of time to get back up to a speed that I was, you know, happy with and comfortable doing. So I think having 3 years in a row will be critical to further success and furthering my comfort in stepping up my my personal best sectors and lap times. So I'm looking forward to, you know, what could possibly be this year. Next is, will the bike I'm riding here in Australia be one of the bikes I ride at TT? No, the bike I'm riding here will be up for sale when I finish the night series, and all the bikes that I'll be racing when I get back to the UK are currently being prepped and readied for Isle of Man TT or the other bikes that are being prepped by Dow for British Superbikes. So the bike I've been racing in Australia has the kit electronics, so has rider aids, and British Superbike Championship regulations has none. So what's the point in riding the bike like that? Well, I need to get used to riding a Honda in any shape, but then at the Isle of Man, when I'm racing in the Superstock category, the standard kit electronics is exactly what I'll be using. So there's multiple levels of value in what I'm doing here with this bike. Been asked why have I got the top speed in Superbike, Superstock and Supersport. I think that comes down to quite a few factors. Coming on to the last left-hand corner before Solby Straight, where the speed is recorded, I must be getting through there fairly well to get a good run onto that straight. Then the speed is actually measured just as you're tipping into a right-hand turn kink, I should say, at the end of Solby Straight. So it's actually quite an intimidating corner in that the bikes can obviously get round the corner at full speed, but there's a bit of self-preservation that always kicks in, and you give it ever so slightly a comfort roll before you roll in. And I think it's critical if you want to get the top speed is to ignore those natural instincts and just keep it flat out. And then the obvious one is the bikes I've been racing in those categories have been good top speed, powerful bikes. So the combination has allowed me to set the highest speed in all classes that I've competed. Why do I ride multiple classes at the Isle of Man, but not in BSB? I think because the need for laps around the Isle of Man is critical. So the only way to purely practice the course and get better at the circuit, the course, is to do racing laps during the closed roads period. And the only time that you ever get the chance to do that is during the TT event fortnight. So if you just ride one class, then you're missing all the other practice sessions, and all your competition that's riding those other practice sessions is getting an advantage. So it's absolutely necessary that you ride as many classes as you can without fatiguing yourself or it becoming a distraction. So this year I'm not going to ride the Super Twin class, because I found last year that the braking points and the style of riding on the Twin was so removed from how I would ride, say, Super Sport, Super Stock or Superbike. I saw that as a bit of a distraction, and I didn't feel that my riding natural character suited that bike particularly well. So I've sat that one out. And at BSB, there's more than enough practice sessions, qualifying sessions and races to be fully focused and committed on just one class and get more than enough track time. So if you're going over to the Isle of Man to watch, where are the best viewing places? I think a very stereotypical one, but good one, is Bray Hill. So that's just after the start-finish line. As we set off, we'll go through a slight kink left, right, left, and then go down a steep descent into another right kink. And it's quite a good viewing, particularly if you've never seen any action before and you're very short commute from the pits. But further around, still early in the lap, is a place that stands out for me, Gorse-Lee. So for the thrill seekers of viewing, you get to sit right on the wall, and it's one of the only places where you can spectate on the outside of a corner. So as us riders use all the track available and come right out to the outside to sweep into the next apex, you'll be at moments, if you leant forward, only centimeters away from a passing bike. So definitely an adrenaline filled viewing. Also, one of my favorites is the bottom of Barragaro. It's a steep descent into a left kink, and the bikes really bottom out into the bottom there. And there's lots of action, from the rider's input to the flex of the motorbike and the tires. It's all to be seen in that one corner. And another place to give perspective, if you're a bit more adventurous and you want a decent trek out to the end of the mountain mile, you get a good sense of how long we spend at top speed. We get up through the gears into top gear, and I think it's probably in excess of 20 seconds at full throttle in top gear as we reach the top of the mountain mile. Is it harder to go from circuits to TT or TT back to circuits? Well, it depends on who you ask. So my teammate last year, Peter Hickman, he had more difficulty going from the TT back to the circuits, where I feel it's the other way. And I think it's just because of the speed. When I'm at the TT, I feel like I've been shot out of a cannon on the first day. Whereas when you're at circuits, you've got no point of reference. You've got a solid white line either side of the track, and a very uniformed grey strip in the middle. And you could be doing 200 kilometers an hour, 300 kilometers an hour, and it all looks very much the same. Nothing's giving you that sense of speed. Whereas when I start the first practice at TT, you've got obviously the changes of tarmac on the road that are flicking past underneath you, bus shelters and trees and people's front yards and buildings, and it's just like uh, uh, just a warp speed of objects passing you, and it gives you this sensation of a huge amount of speed that on the initial practice and the early days of practice at least, it takes a while to get accustomed to. But once you get comfortable in that environment, it all starts to slow down. You start to look further ahead, and that the sort of fear of speed dissipates. One stereotypical attitude towards the TT is that it's a thrill seeker's sport where you just turn your brain off and go for the adrenaline. But I think anyone that met TT riders would know quite quickly that there's far more to it than that. I can say for sure that big muscles and tattoos doesn't make you go quicker. It's about studying and being calculated and evaluating the risk and the challenges, and just being a pure professional at the industry is what makes the greats as successful as they are. The list of questions for TT is endless, but the question I've come to answer today is who I'm riding for in 2025, and that is Jackson's Racing Honda. I've chose to join with them because of the effort they've put in for this year. Every year they've been progressing more. I first rode for them in 2017 on Supersport at the TT, and this year I'll be with them for all the classes, so Superbike, Superstock and Supersport. And I'm looking forward to joining with them again, and particularly with the collaboration between Dell Racing and Jackson's Honda, we'll have a successful TT25.